It looks like the role players on this Red Sox team are starting to figure it out a little bit, and that is huge news for the Boston Red Sox. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and the Boston Red Sox have officially taken 2 out of 3 from the Minnesota Twins. They finished their homestand at Fenway Park, winning 5 out of 7 games and getting themselves back to 500. And a lot of these games during the Minnesota series were either hard fought or hard lost. But one thing that really stood out to me during this Twins series is how well the role players on this team are stepping up in a big way. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to talk about everything that went down in this Twin series. We're going to talk about the good, and we're going to talk about the bad, and we're going to talk about how the Red Sox can improve going forward, as well as what I mean by figuring it out and how this team is coming together as one singular unit. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. As we always do, let's start with the offense in this series, and there is not a single other person I could possibly start with when we're talking about this offense right now than talking about Alex Verdugo, because Alex Verdugo's performance in this series was insane. He went 5 for 13 in this series, including a walk-off that I think counted as a double. Either way, it was a huge clutch hit in the 10th inning of the first game of this series. A really kind of weird all-around walk-off, right? Kind of a weird hit, and then a weird moment with the review, but either way, Alex Verdugo is the man in terms of clutch. He also had a lead-off home run in the 3rd game of this series. Just Alex Verdugo looks incredible so far this year. And I know I've said this so far in every single series, but it's true. Alex Verdugo right now is our most consistent hitter, and he was the guy going into 2023 that most people agreed needed to take a step up in a big way. And so far, that's what we're seeing. But Alex Verdugo isn't so much a role player on this Red Sox team. And the other guy we're about to talk about isn't either, because we have to talk about Rafael Devers. We're going to talk about the Red Sox offense. It's just how it works, right? Rafael Devers didn't have the most amazing series against the Twins, but he still managed to have a couple of extra base hits, including this double right here off of the Green Monster in the last game of the series as well. And I wanted to put this in here because it's just not human for Rafael Devers to be able to hit a pitch outside of the zone like that and just sort of flick at it and it goes off the monster. He's just not a human being. But again, Rafael Devers is not a role player. But one person that is a role player that really stepped it up in the last couple of games is Jarren Duran. Jarren Duran in this series went 4 for 10 with 5 RBIs. We talked about on this channel about how his batting stance improvements could really change his game, and we're seeing it at the big league level in this small sample size. I would love to see him continue to do this over a longer period of time, but for right now, he looks fantastic. Kike Hernandez also appears to be back on track as well. He went 6 for 11 in this series, including a bomb as well. He hit a home run in the 2nd game in this series, and this is exactly what we needed from Kike. We talked about it last video, right, where Kike and Justin Turner really need to start stepping it up. Well, this is the 3rd series in a row where Kike Hernandez has had a really great offensive series, and that is absolutely fantastic for this Red Sox team. Yu Chang hit another missile home run in this series. Now with 2 kids, the dad strength has appeared to have doubled. Shout out Lenny DiNardo for that one. And last series recap, we focused a lot on Justin Turner and Kike Hernandez and how they were starting to come together and help this team win ball games, right? And that is extremely important. But there were 2 guys we mentioned in that video as well, Masataka Yoshida and Tristan Casas. And although they didn't have a fantastic series, the last game in this series feels like it could be the start of a turning point for both of these guys, because in the last game in this series, Masataka Yoshida went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs, and the best part about the outing in his last game was by far and away his swing. He's been getting on top of the ball a ton. He has been pulling the ball a ton. In the last game of this series, Masataka Yoshida was 1, driving the ball hard the other way, but 2, lifting the ball up in the air, and that is exactly what we needed to see from Masataka Yoshida. We saw the swing that everyone had been talking about. So hopefully this is the start of a turning point for Yoshida, because this team, again, really needs him, and you're starting to see him sort of figure it out at the plate. Same same kind of goes for Triston Casas, who in the last game of this series went 1 for 2 with 2 walks. But what really impressed me with Triston Casas in this game was the fact that there was legitimate ends to his 3-2 counts. It felt like over the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you, really since the season started, Triston Casas was still having that really great eye at the plate. But like Lou Merloni has said, like a lot of people have talked about, Triston Casas is a guy who shouldn't be getting into 3-2 counts every at-bats, and he should be punishing pitches that he's just sort of watching down the middle. Well, in the last game of this series, we saw a lot of hard contact from him, although his one hit was a little dribbler, which is kind of ironic. But either way, we are seeing a lot of hard contact from him, and we're seeing him finally sort of put an end to striking out on 3-2 pitches. Well, at least in one game, right? And obviously this is an extremely small sample size for both Masa and Triston Casas, but at the same time too, if these two can figure it out, it is going to be hugely important to the success of this Red Sox team, because if you combined a productive Triston Casas's true production and Masataka Yoshida's true production with the other role players on this team, Justin Turner, Kike Hernandez, and you added to the absolute dominant performance so far with Alex Verdugo and Rafael Devers, you could have one of the best offenses in all of baseball. And before you guys attack me for that statement, right now, with the Red Sox offense sort of being a little bit starved in terms of batting average at the bottom of the order, and the top of the order really kind of pulling its weight, they have the 3rd most runs scored in all of baseball. Imagine if the bottom of the order was able to pull their own weight. Yeah, you're probably looking at one of the best offenses in all of baseball. So this is absolutely fantastic news for the Red Sox, that Masataka Yoshida's swing looks a lot better, that Triston Casas is hitting the ball a lot better, that Kike's had 3 great series in a row, and that Justin Turner is starting to figure it out as well. Then you add in, obviously, the Jarren Durans of the world, the Rob Refsnyders of the world, the Yu Changs of the world, the Connor Wongs, the Reese McGuires, the guys who aren't going to be the name on the front page news, but are going to move the ball along and really set up all of these guys to make a big splash over the next couple of weeks. But let's talk about the pitching as well, and who figured it out there. The Boston Red Sox were so close to having a really great starting pitching series in this series. Obviously, we know how Chris Sale did in game 1, but in case you need a little reminder, Chris Sale went 6 innings. He allowed just 3 hits and only 1 run. He also struck out 11 batters and only walked 2. His highest strikeouts in one game since 2019. If you want a full breakdown on that, there is an individual video on my channel talking about this start and what it means, but it was fantastic. The one who ruined this weekend's starting pitching performances was Corey Kluber, who did go 5 innings, but he also allowed 7 earned runs on 6 hits. He walked 2, hit a couple of batters, and only struck out 4. And with the depth in terms of pitching on this team, Kluber may be forcing the Red Sox to make a really interesting decision that we're going to talk about in a second. But Tanner Houck also had one of the best starts of his career in this series to finish it off. He went 7 innings, a career high. He struck out 7, only walked 1 batter, allowed 3 runs on 6 hits. And honestly, the 2 of those runs came in the last inning that he pitched in. He looked fantastic up until the 7th inning. And one of the things that we've been talking about all year is that if Tanner Houck can maintain his control, he can be absolutely deadly. And we saw exactly what that looks like in this series. And Tanner Houck's making it really, really hard for the Red Sox to put him back in the bullpen. I am truly starting to lean more towards Tanner Houck being a starting pitcher than Tanner Houck being a bullpen weapon, especially with Cutter Crawford in the bullpen right now. But the Red Sox are going to have some tough decisions to make, and honestly, if we are looking at this rotation, they want to cut it down to 5 people. I think I'm taking both Pivetta and Tanner Houck over Corey Kluber right now. Let me know in your comment section down below. Who would you take? Are you still putting Kluber in this rotation, or would you take Houck or Pivetta over him? Let me know. The bullpen in this series was all right. Honestly, outside of Brazier, who gave up 5 earned runs in this series. I'm sorry to laugh, but that's such a Brazier thing. Everyone else is doing well, and then there's Brazier, right? John Schreiber had a little bit of a rough outing in the first game of the series, almost quite literally blowing the game. His control was all over the place, but we're kind of used to seeing that from John Schreiber every once in a while, right? With his funky delivery and the movement on his pitches, there are going to be outings where he's just simply not on control-wise. Hopefully, it does not become a trend, but I have a feeling we're going to be all right with John Schreiber. The rest of the bullpen looked really good. Even Richard Blyer had some really great innings in this series. So overall, the bullpen, again, aside from Ryan Brazier, was fantastic. All in all, pitching-wise, we were so close to a really great series. Ryan Brazier and Corey Kluber kind of threw the train off the tracks a little bit on that one. But in a season where the Red Sox so far have given up the most first-inning runs in all of baseball, have one of the highest starter ERAs in all of baseball, and have some of the fewest innings pitched by starters in all of Major League Baseball, it was really refreshing to see guys go at two out of 3 of these games, deep into games, and dominate a team that they really did need to dominate. Because I know some of you guys are going to say, well, yeah, they had good starts. It was the Minnesota Twins. Well, they also had really bad starts against teams who aren't exactly offensively prolific, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? So to see them dominate a team that they should have dominated, it's a really great sign. And honestly, the bullpen hasn't really been a worry for me at all this season so far. Ryan Brazier, Caleb Ort, those type of guys are obviously in a class of their own, but in terms of the bullpen in general, they look fantastic so far this year. And overall, in terms of this series, I would say it was a huge success. Again, the two things that stood out to me were the fact that the role players were starting to figure it out a bit in this Red Sox lineup, and it really makes this team look so much more deadly at the plate. And two, we're starting to see this rotation and how it could truly be a good rotation as pitchers start to settle down here. Obviously, there's still a ways to go for this rotation, but you're starting to see signs of what this rotation could look like, and they're looking really good. The Red Sox are off to Milwaukee today, and the Brewers have some of the best pitching in Major League Baseball. So we're gonna see a true test of this Red Sox offense, as well as a true test for this Red Sox pitching staff. Can they compete at all with the pitching staff of the Milwaukee Brewers? But before we get to that, let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of this series? Did you like the way that the role players are starting to come together and figure it out and really put this Red Sox lineup together? Is there something else that stood out to you in this series? What are your thoughts overall of the Red Sox beating the Twins 2-3 at home? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.